Hello and welcome back to another episode of the It's Not Orange podcast. 4 in a row, Bruce makes history, the first Blackpool manager to win his first 4 games, and it's been delightful since he's taken over. The shock has settled and Blackpool are playing some serious stuff. Joining me this evening, as you can all see, is Kurt. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm really good. Another great weekend. I can get used to this feeling, this winning feeling. It's been a while since we've gone on a bit of a run like this. So yeah, another brilliant day on Saturday. Even when I don't think we were at our best, like we were at Huddersfield and Charlton, but we still managed, to get the win pretty comfortably at the end.
Yeah, Stockport, Crawley seem so long ago now, don't they?
But it could be two different 11s with different players because that it feels like a completely different side. The change has been remarkable, and the amount of times I see these new manager bounces happening for other teams, and they go on these runs, and everything's so positive. We haven't had that, have we? With Mick McCarthy, it was a bit limp. It was a bit didn't quite get there. This has just gone way and above our expectations. I mean, ultimately the bubble will burst at some point. We will lose. We will draw. But just enjoy it whilst it's here. The atmosphere on Saturday was brilliant. The North was really going for it again, which is what we're pretty renowned for, is making a decent atmosphere at home. So enjoy it while it's here, and just keep going basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll start, as we always do, of course, with the lineup. If I would have that ready, that would be amazing. Yeah, so of course, one change, Rhodes up front. So Coulson and Gabriel making the wing-back positions up with Tyra in goal, Casey and O'Fire, Hamilton and Apter on either side of Morgan and Evans, of course. Joseph, of course, retaining his place. Ballard, with his injury, was replaced by Rhodes. Good again to see Evans back in there, and obviously he was a pivotal point in this performance, of course, as he always is. But we're all a bit nervous that we're going to lose Ballard and Evans, two key players in the team. But alas, it was again a very strong lineup, and kudos. Maybe I'm sitting here thinking, how do they keep running around for 90 minutes like they do? But you're always a bit nervous that the fitness will eventually dip. But they continued really well, and it was good to see that same sort of 10 and making up the core of this team and carrying on this momentum.
Yeah, I think the only surprise for me is probably I expected Beasley or Fletcher to be in instead of Rhodes. I think they're a little bit more mobile, maybe not is the word, but more mobile than Rhodes. But I can see why they brought Rhodes in. He had a decent partnership with Joseph at times. They linked up well last season. He's got all the experience. When we've got a team that maybe a bit more defensive at home, Rhodes in the box is the guy you need. But yeah, looking at that team, we've got if you spoke to him a few weeks ago and said we are going to go for a back four, what back four would it be? It probably wouldn't have been that one. Obviously Baggett's got injured, and Husband's also got injured. But yeah, to have a bit of a settled team, and they also look fitter as well. It's starting to become really noticeable that we're not flagging after 60, 70 minutes. It's sort of a 75, 80-minute performance from a lot of them. And Evans was still on the pitch at the end of that game, which is unbelievable. So I mean, looking at some of those ratings, all of them are about right. Really good team, good solid team performance.
Yeah, I was just going to pose the question to the chat, so please get your comments in about how you feel as well. But I have to give credit to Bruce, because it's very easy to bring the club captain back in, obviously in the form of Husband, but he seems like a manager that's happy to keep a winning formula. And you can argue, obviously being top goal scorer at the time and putting in some half decent performances, that Husband was going to be the man that retained his place, so to speak, when he came back from injury. But you have to give him credit, because we looked, not only did we get the clean sheet, but we looked better attacking and arguably a little bit better balance due to Coulson's engine against Huddersfield. I know he was slightly injured, but he still put in a very key performance against Huddersfield. So yeah, credit to Bruce, and he's an experienced manager, as we all know, and he kept Coulson in the team, and it looks like, fingers crossed, he's there tomorrow as well.
I think it sends a message. It sends a really good message to the squad, to be honest. It says that if you're performing, and when you get on that pitch, you put a good performance in, you stay in the team, whether you've scored 20 goals, whether you're the number one goalkeeper, whether you're the captain, it doesn't matter. We've seen in previous seasons where there were clear favourites that were going to play no matter what. Whereas actually, if you play well, if you play consistent, you put the effort in, And that's kind of what's been taught. There's a lot of effort being put in by the lads. So, it's a squad game, but if you play well, you keep your position. Coulson, I was a little bit worried that League One was going to be his level, when he came in. I liked him. I put a lot of effort in. He showed moments, Shrewsbury away where he scored, some really good solid performances, but he's actually really balanced this side, with Gabriel on the right and Coulson on the left. And some of the problems and challenges we've had is that we kind of have one area where you can be threatening from. And if that doesn't work for the evening, you might as well leave after 5-10 minutes. That happened in numerous games last year. It was actually, if Carl Joseph maybe isn't quite on it, you've got Rob Actor. If Hamilton's not on it, if Actor's not on it, you've got CJ, you've got Coulson, you've got Gabriel, you've got Evans taking long range shots. Actually, it's just a really nice balance across that team now. And it makes it fun to go and watch that, enjoyable to go watch football again. And that's what these lads in Bruce have done.
Yeah, we'll talk about that back four plus the goalkeeper, as we did against Huddersfield, to be fair, because they deserve a lot of plaudits. I actually thought this game was a bit more difficult. We'll come on to that in a minute. Just want to say hello to the people in the chat. Hello, Craig. Hello, Mike. How you doing? Hello, another Mike. Hope you're all well, Evening, Mark. Hope you're enjoying the pod, mate. Mike, but I like the team. Thought Fletcher may have been in over Rhodes, as you said, Kurt. Yeah, it's a fair comment. Hoggy, Beasley in for Rhodes tomorrow, please. The only swap required. Yeah, a bit more pressing with Joseph so he doesn't run himself into the ground. He could be more impactful in terms of being played through as well. Mark, again, Rhodes offered very little and said on the pod previously that our press is lacking when he plays. Yeah, Beasley tomorrow, a bit more energy up front, which I think is fair. But yeah, we'll come on to the game, I suppose, and we'll start the chat, Kurt, with the proud title of history made. If you go back 3 or 4 weeks now, when I continually laughed for a good hour or so, and the whole of X blew up with Newcastle fans and all sorts of footballing communities just saying, good appointment, bad appointment, what you do an appointment, he'll take the money and run appointment. Whatever happens, he's made history now in Blackpool's books to be the first manager to win his first 4 games in charge. And yep, the opposition haven't been the best, let's face it. But at the same time, Charlton away and Huddersfield away, we wouldn't have dreamed of picking up maybe a point or a win there previously. Although, to be fair, we did win under the previous managers there. But after the last year or so, it would be games we'd be dreading. But we've turned up to these places and we've been the Blackpool we've been craving for the last year or so under Critchley. We were wondering whether we were going to show our teeth, stamp our authority, keep the ball, play football that we'll be proud of. And that's, a mantra that Bruce always keeps to. I want to produce a side that your town or city is proud of. And so far, he's kept true to every word, because as a management team that he leads, they've all done an excellent job in making us proud about this football club again. And Saturday was the epitome of that. Not a great performance, but a fantastic win.
Yeah, I loved his pre-Burton comments. Yeah, there was no point in going to Huddersfield and Charlton just to turn up on Saturday and lose to Burton at home. And we saw that, didn't we, with performances, great performance away at Portsmouth, then we lost to Northampton at home. You go and beat the league leaders 4-0 away from home, and then you lose to 17th or 18th at home. So, that's a mentality thing, isn't it? He's bringing a mentality, you can put the FA handbook away now. You don't want to, this 3-5-2 nonsense and all of that sort of stuff that we've seen in the past. And actually, sometimes it's about the mentality of the players and bringing a good culture and, all of that sort of stuff. So, yeah, look, it's a great start. I don't think any Blackpool fan in there at all would have said we'd been the first 4. It is history, but I love the way he's approaching it. And he's like, right, it's on to the next job now. It's on to the next job. What's next? And I think there'll be a lot of teams looking at us who will have maybe blinked and gone, bloody hell, how the hell are Blackpool 4th? Where has that come from? I've not looked at the table for 3-4 weeks. It's great to look at it now. So, yeah, look, great, unbelievable start. I'm delighted for him because I like Steve Bruce. Very, like I said in the pod when he was appointed, he's inoffensive to us. He's never, it's never really been an issue. I've got no problem with him. I thought he's always been a nice enough bloke. And actually, he's come in and he's brought that positive vibes, positive energy back in, and we kind of all needed that, didn't we? It was a bit horrible, not massively fussed about making the effort to travel away to watch us at Mansfield or something. But I'm already excited for the weekend. Obviously, we've got a game tomorrow night, but which I can't make. But can't wait to get to see us again, and that's sort of what following football should be like. So, good times.
Yeah, we once had a manager that had a year out and made us infinitely better, didn't he? So it's nice to see, despite his age, a fresh manager with fresh ideas and fresh mentality, isn't it? So the year did him some good. And, I now believe him a little bit more when he said, I wanted to get back into football because I missed it so much. And it's got to be in his DNA at the age he is. He's retiring in a couple of years potentially. And he's chosen to pick up these Warnocks and Bruce of the world. Maybe we can't sort of fathom it. We all love football, but they've got to pick up a whole new 23-man squad and go again. So every credit to these characters in football, and it will be a horrible place without them. And I'm glad Bruce is ours for the time being, of course. We started the game really well, Kurt. To be fair, under the predecessor of Bruce, we usually kept the ball fairly well and started with promise, but at the moment we're keeping the ball with a bit more purpose. And you've already alluded to it. It wasn't as clean as Huddersfield maybe and Charlton, but at the same time, we weren't really phased by Burton in the early stages of the game, and a couple of early shots with Morgan and Evans, and just tasters to what was to come, of course. But it's nice to see us stamp our authority early and just set the tempo.
There's just so many outlets when they've got the ball now. They've just got a real clear process in the way they're going to play out from the back. And I love that. I absolutely love that. Do you know what? If this is getting too uncomfortable, bang, it's gone long. No messing around, no overplaying of the ball. I was watching the highlights show, and whose goalkeeper was it where they tackled him into the net or something? Like it's ridiculous. All these teams are, trying to play football in silly areas. We're not doing that. We make the odd mistake. This is League One. That's how it works. But if in doubt, get rid of it. And I think Morgan and Evans are really key to this. I mean, Evans in particular. We could have a pod talking about him for the whole hour. But look, those two just keep it ticking. The movement, the passing range, the first time passing. Both of them have got it in the locker. And that makes us a massively different team. I thought Morgan last season was better when he was on his own and allowed to dictate things without other people being in the way. But I think those two have just clicked straight away, which, considering Morgan's come back from injury and, not quite at the start that he wanted this season, he's come back and he looks fitter, stronger. Everything looks better from him. So those two are really, really key. And we've just got some really good footballers playing in their comfortable positions. We saw a TikTok from our friend Mappers over at Fleetwood, who basically said, you're playing players in the right position. I agree with him. You play players in their comfortable positions, and it makes everything more comfortable for them, and they're not overplaying. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're just making things very simple, and giving people the opportunity to express themselves in attacking areas.
Yeah, completely agree. Well surmised. It was my fault. I was thinking about Bolton's comical goal from a couple of weeks ago, but this week it was Birmingham against Posh, where the goalkeeper made the mistake. Yeah. When you said you were watching the highlight show, obviously it wasn't from 2 weeks ago. So yeah, my mistake. Thank you, Mike. Look, we'll move on. We've got a Lincoln fan primed and ready to give us his input on tomorrow's game. So we'll move on to the man who you already said, obviously, which was Lee Evans, who played a delicious ball into, we call him Mr. Whippy now. They call him the General. I call him Mr. Whippy. It's been ages since we've had a man that can deliver a ball so well. So comical goal on Burton's side. I had to watch the goal back 2 or 3 times to actually realise what happened, but he found himself completely unmarked, of course, and he got his head down low to nod it through. And it, like Apter's goal, which we'll come on to a bit later on, in games where you control it, a bit like Huddersfield as well, when we got that goal, we're scoring goals at really good times, aren't we? Keeping the ball, few shots on goal, set pieces made, goal. Whereas previously in the past, it would take us a while to get the shot across, and but there's constant attacks, and as you say, there's many options. And the fact that we got the set piece in that position, the cross was superb. And that's again, Burton let themselves down with the marking, but a fire was there to add to his fantastic start to the season, and it was 1-0 Blackpool.
Yeah, it was a bit of an awkward height for him. I've had to watch it back because I couldn't quite understand what happened. From the north, I didn't quite see like a fire, and it went in. I went, "What? How has that gone in?" I didn't really understand, and then the fire went running off. So the thing is, when you've got someone that you can put such whip on the ball at that height, excuse me, in those areas, you've always got a chance of something happening, and if players know it's going to be in and around that area, it's no coincidence that we've started to score goals from set pieces now, because someone of his quality, he's just so good. He should never be playing at this level, but he's way above this level. He's a top end championship player, but and the reason why he's with us is because he's had a history of injuries. So hopefully that's behind him. And he's 30, so he's still got enough years. But we've got some really good quality players now that can produce things like that. And I'm delighted for Fire. I think he's had an unbelievable start to his Blackpool career. I think he's an absolute unit. He's a good footballer. He's strong. He's intelligent. He has got he's got a high ceiling, that lad. I could easily see him starting for Brighton in the next year or two. A very fantastic footballer, and again, product of the Brighton academy that seems to find these players. So, all round really good first goal. Set us up nicely. But I don't think Burton were a bad team at all in any shape or form. I thought they were quite tidy. They just didn't really have that killer instinct and lacked just a bit of quality. But they felt like more of a challenge, to be honest, than Huddersfield did at times. And Huddersfield are in the top six, and Charlton did, which just reinforces how good those two performances were.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. What I like about him so much, and again, we'll come on to a quick sort of synopsis on the back four in a bit, but I just love the fact that him and Gabriel are on that side, and if Gabriel's forward, he's going to come across and cut that ball out or get an interception, or you feel naturally a lot more calmer than if we played a husband there or something like that. No disrespect to them, because they've got pace and strength and the sort of the knowledge and the confidence to do what they do. You immediately feel a lot more comfortable with who you're playing against, rather than them backing off or they're not running into the space of the player. They seem to sort of complement each other really well, and long may it continue, because we've got a centre back ready to come back from injury in Elkan Baggett, who arguably is levels above League One as well. So what a backup to have. Husbands, obviously, we spoke about in the pod chat previously, can come in there as well, but defence kind of feels like it's in a good space for once. Arguably there's no right back to cover Gabriel's incredible talent, but at the same time we've got people in positions that can play there. So the back four for once isn't a worry, and it's really good to see. We did, however, have our troubles against Burton. As you say, they were neat and tidy, and I thought they were a very creative side. Let us know in the comments how you feel like Burton played, because the scoreline flattened us, should I say, in some respects. Some really good goals Blackpool scored, and we certainly deserved to score them. But at the same time, I thought, if they scored one or two, it wouldn't be sort of against them, because I thought they had real creativity. I don't know how you feel, especially in that second half. They were trying different set pieces, the passing right along the wings, the 2-10s coming wide. They did cause us a little bit of trouble. We dealt with it fairly well, but they had a big opportunity with a Sweeney free kick, which Tyra made a similar mistake to what he did against Charlton, where he kind of goes to claim it but spills it in the air, and Danilo Orsi should probably get his header on target, should probably score. If it was Rhodes or anyone else, we'd be disappointed that it wasn't 1-1.
Yeah, I think it was one of those days when no matter what Burton did, they just weren't going to score, and they weren't going to get the referee rub of the green. They looked all right. They looked like a team, that kind of lacked a bit of confidence. That I don't know if they've not won yet this season. Like probably Mark just said in the chat that. They were good. They were a good enough team. I'd be very surprised. If they get a couple of wins, I'd be very surprised if they went down. They play nice, tidy football, but ultimately it's a results game, isn't it? So, but Tyra's mistake. We're watching a goalkeeper learn on the job. 22 years old, he's going to make mistakes, but he's also, I've said it a few times. His positioning is fantastic. He's in a starting position to cut things out when there's a through ball. He's intelligent. He knows when to come out. He's got a great shot stop on him. He's got some really good skills with his feet. We're just watching it, someone just learn on the job, and he's going to make mistakes. That won't be his first mistake. Every goalkeeper makes mistakes. Grimmy made more than enough mistakes. So look, it just was one of those days for Burton that it just wasn't going to go in, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark said Evans is outrageous, levels above, as you said already, sort of echoing what you feel. Be interesting when teams get wise and put two men on him. Yeah, because we play 4-4-2, that we'd have to come against a 3 or a 4-5-1 for them to compact the midfield. But then you'd imagine would utilise the space wide. So it's interesting to see how adaptable 4-4-2 actually is with the players that we've got that can impact teams. So you are right, Mark. It'll be interesting to see how they try and mark him out the game and how he reacts to it as well. Yeah, really good point. Connor said a fire is different gravy and miles better than League One as well as Evans. If we go up, serious potential we get a fire on loan. Well, maybe it will be a coup if we do ever get someone like that, of course, on a permanent. MB's just put in the chat that they should have had a penalty. And the next subject, MB, is was a pen? What was it a pen, should I say? For me, when I've watched initially, I think both Gary Bowyer, Chisnell, and a few others said penalty immediately. When you watch it back from sort of facing the north, his leg does go slightly up in Tyra, but he also falls directly over it fairly high. And initially, I thought he's pointing for a penalty, and I wouldn't have any arguments. But watching it back, I'm probably leaning on the side as he got it right. But let us know in the comments how you feel. Do you think it was a penalty first and foremost, Kurt?
I was going to plead the fifth because I went down for a beer just before half time, so I watched it on the screen in the north. No, it looks on the screen, it looks a clear penalty to me. But the referee didn't notice him. Had a great game. I thought he let the game flow really well. I thought it wasn't about him. It was about playing nice football, and he just seemed to be, really on it, the referee. And it's not often you can say that at League One level, is it? How many times? So, I'll take his word for it because obviously it went on our side. But initial viewing, it looked like a penalty. But you can do that with every, decision, can't you? You can micro inspect it. I wouldn't have been massively aggrieved if it had been given, put it that way, which kind of says everything, doesn't it? But like I said, Burton just weren't getting anything going their way. So yeah, we'll take that one and we'll move on, I think.
It was immediately or soon after the miss as well, and them dominating the ball a little bit and us being a little bit scrappy the first time we've really seen it under Bruce. And they did grow into the game, and at half time you could argue, like I said, with 1-1 being an unfair result, and I think most fans would say no. But like a Fire's goal and like Apter's goal on the other side of half time, that decision came at a really nice time for Blackpool, just not giving them that momentum to get back into the game. And if he's not give the pen, he's rightly booked Dorsey. But on reflection, it's probably not a penalty. But at the time when he pointed directly at the spot of the penalty area, I was like, oh, Christ, bad goalkeeping in some respects, or they broke the line really well. And like you said, it just wasn't going for them. And maybe that is that new manager bounce. Maybe he thought Bruce is their manager, I'll do him a favour. Who knows? But Richard has come in. Not a pen for me. I was very close and never touched him. Yeah. Mark, on the other hand, as it was a pen for me, I think Tara's reaction said it. Stopped playing exactly. Stopped playing, expecting a whistle, got one. Lucky for us, it went the other way, of course. Mike's put it looked a pen from the north. Yosh has put Tara's reaction was a giveaway. Looked guilty. He did kind of just look up at the ref, kind of a smirk, kind of a please don't sort of give the penalty. But Mike put Tyra pulled his leg back, which the ref saw. I also agree. I think he then jumps over the leg. And then it wasn't a penalty, but it was what it was, and it wasn't a penalty. So it was a good moment for Blackpool. And as we've said, we won't sort of digress onto this part, but we said Burton had their moments, and every credit to them. I spoke to Ed, who done the preview show after the game, and he said to me we were thoroughly outplayed. Not Blackpool, Burton were thoroughly outplayed. He dealt with the pressure well, broke the lines well. I thought he was being quite hypercritical on Burton because I thought they were very tidy. But yeah, soon after the first half ended, Kurt, the second half began, and it was a time for the star boy, star man, whatever you want to call him, Raptor. That give people the ick somewhat, calling him Raptor, but whatever it was a beautiful solo run. I do have to say Burton showed him onto his left the whole time, pushing him wide and sliding at him. But he rode the challenges really well, kept his cool, and in his own words, passed it into the net. And it was an expertly timed finish. It was one which I think Apter needed because if I'm going to be really critical of him, I don't think his finishing's been excellent. I think he's snapped at a few shots. I don't think I've expected him to miss as many as he has. But at the same time, he's not afraid to shoot. But he showed real composure in that moment, and he's kind of emulated what he's done at Scunthorpe and Tranmere in the past with that run from the right and then cutting in, and it was a lovely finish, and it was that finish was better than a bullet because it just glided into the corner, and it was just poetry in motion is how I can sum it up.
Oh, it went slow motion. To be fair, as soon as he picked the ball up, it was one of those things where I was like, "Oh, he's going to do something here." I just felt like he was going to do something. The thing is, they've got to show him. It's difficult to show him on his left or right because he put a few good balls in the first half using his right foot. Put him over the back, and I think for Apter, he's come back to us with high expectations, which is we haven't had as Blackpool fans. I can't think of anybody that we sent out on loan too often, and then had crazy high expectations of a youngster, and been propelled into the first team and been expected to get to the levels he was at last season. He's going to start to, carries on like that, and we're going to start to have to worry about getting him on a decent contract and tying him down, and, because I see other players, like that going for 5 to 10 million between those sorts of figures, and look, we're giving, similar to Tyro, we're giving him the opportunity to learn on the job, to continue with his career, to be backed passionately by fans, to be given the freedom of Bloomfield Road, to do what he wants and to get attacking because that's what he wants to do. He just wants to get at players, and that's really what what his game is about. So, look, he's adding goals now to his assists, and that's brilliant. I said last season I felt we should have brought him back in January. I think if we brought him back in January, we'd get into the playoffs. It would have maybe been the most undeserved playoffs in history. But I think we were missing that secondary outlet of attacking football, and he would have done that. Maybe not in that formation, but we're reaping the rewards of that loan to Tranmere now.
Yeah, and the scary thing is, 37 touches as just put up on the screen, 37 touches in the whole game, and he's produced some magical moments as well as that goal. Mark Webster has put very ex-player-esque. From from a Fulham a few years ago. I won't mention his name anymore.
The real Josh Bowler.
Yeah, the real Josh Bowler. He's a fraud at the moment down the team down the road who had to sub him off early because of his performance. So, yeah, we got the electricity and they now got dim lights. Fingers crossed. Mark, the Merseyside Messi, hopefully found his feet now. Yeah, I think maybe, the goal gives him a new leash of life. Not that he really needed it, but he's got confidence oozing out of him, hasn't he? So, we'll move on. A fantastic performance and probably, as you said pre-pod, probably his best in Tangerine as well. And as Mark said, fingers crossed he kicks on from here. Manages minutes well. He's got subbed off as well, so it's really good to see. Directly after that, Gabriel makes a small mistake in what Evans did against Cambridge, wasn't it? Where he turns around and passes the ball back to what he probably thought was someone like a Fire or Casey there, but it turns out it fell to a Burton shirt, who to be fair to him played an absolutely exceptional shot, which was headed for the top corner, and Tyre redeemed his previous error, so to speak, with an absolutely exceptional save, and one where he hardly gets to see it and reacts superbly well.
Yeah. Gabriel's made the pass. Everybody's looking at each other like, "What? Why is it? How has that happened?" Because it's not like they're wearing a similar away kit to us, or there may be slight flash of red shorts or something. They're wearing some horrible two-tone kit. And I don't know. Look, that's what he's there for, isn't it, Tyro? To make massive saves in massive moments, because that goes 2-1, and we're, oh God, not again, really. So, he's made some really good saves. The one at Charlton was fantastic. He's made some good saves at Huddersfield. So, yeah, excellent save. He's going to have one hell of a highlight reel. We need him to make big saves for us to keep us in the game.
Yeah, I really like your point on him as well. He's learning on the job, and we're being very accepting of that because his mistakes are quite. The Charlton one, arguably was quite poor. No one really got angry about it. But the Huddersfield save, not the one from the header, but the one where he loops over the bar. He makes a similar save to the second save at Huddersfield against Burton with his second save as well, doesn't he, with the header? And he tipped it around the left-hand post as well. So he again, with one mistake, came 2 or 3 excellent saves. And you've already alluded to it, positionally, absolutely superb. Set piece, commanding, superb. Arguably, and let us know in the chat, I don't miss Grimmy a single bit. And I don't know if it's because Grimmy was one of us in terms of, really felt him as a fan in difficult times and an incredible keeper. But one we thought we've let him go on the eve of the season or after whatever it was, just before the window ends and we didn't have a replacement. and we have replaced him, yes, with a loan, but someone who hasn't played league football, but someone that's made us forget Grimmy fairly quickly.
Yeah. The thing is that Grimmy was a bit of the problem with Grimmy is he was too good with his feet, which made him the easy option to go back to all the time. And you couple that with the way we're trying to play football. Yeah, look, I've been calling for a bigger keeper. Big, and he's not just a tall keeper; he's a big lad, and he's pretty quick on his feet. So, again, another one where I think, gosh, he's got such a strong future ahead of him at a higher level. He's got so much learning to do, and this is League One. Hopefully we'll get him back next year in the Championship potentially. That would be great. But he's got a Championship move next year. Then if he goes on from there, Jordan Pickford is getting of an age. Why not take the number 1 jersey at Everton? So yeah, look, he's had a fantastic start for us. I know he made the mistake at Charlton, but some of the saves have been fantastic since then.
I don't know if you were alluding to Everton going down or Blackpool going up. Maybe it could be both.
It's both, yeah, exactly. We'll just buy him next season and just keep going from there.
Yeah, Mike said it was an unbelievable save. Tony said Apter is the missing piece in that 4-4-2 formation. I have to completely agree with you. There's some really important players in this team, but Apter's made that position his own, and it's a really good point. Tony's also said Greenwood was a good keeper, but never commanded his box, as Kurt said for about 6-7 months, didn't you? And like you say, I think that League One, we need a good shot stopper, yes, but we need someone really who can deal with long balls, because League One's full of them. 10, 15 teams play at some point horrible football that you have to compete with, a la Charlton, a la Stevenage, and a few others. Certainly not tomorrow's opponents, but a lot of teams know how to mix it up. So we'll see what the season brings with him. But yeah, learning on the job, as you say. Finally, then, Evans's goal, the general, Mr. Whippy, whatever you want to call him, a bit of a decent pass to him. He didn't know whether to go his left or right, but he chopped, and as he said himself, drilled it into the corner. It was nice to see it go in off the post, because if there's one person that deserves a goal in Blackpool colour so far this season, it's that man that is Lee Evans. The guy, as we've already said, is way above League One. He has made Blackpool tick like Apter in certain positions, but we not argued, we sort of alluded to it all the time that we needed someone in that midfield to make us a better team. And without being an absolute bully, he's quite resilient in that middle. He's quite nippy, but at the same time, he's very elegant as well. He's the full package for me as a centre midfielder. And if he gets older, he might lose a yard of pace, but he'll make up for that with his brain. Just surmise how you feel about Evans, because I know you said we can do a whole half an hour on him, but just put into words how you feel about him, and let us know in the chat, how much of an impact you think Evans has had.
I think he's our best centre midfielder since Charlie Adam. That's ours. Maybe throw Dewsbury Hall in that, but I think he's our best, most complete centre midfielder that I can think of. Someone else, by all means, put a name in the chat. I think he's the midfielder that we were looking for when we were trying to get Brannigan all those years ago. Barlava, all those sorts of names that have been knocking around. We've been looking for him. Like I said, he was a gamble because he's got a bit of an injury history. Did fully deserve the goal. I don't know. Did he get man of the match? I'm not sure if he got man of the match. If he didn't, he definitely should have.
I can't remember who they
were. Apter got man of the match.
Apter got man of the match, yeah. He got the highest rating, but not man of the match officially.
Yeah. Look, it was close. Yeah, it was close. But yeah, brilliant footballer. I watch that sort of player all day long. Yeah,
just put on the screen there the stats that League One posted earlier. But games played 8, goals 1, top assist in League One with 4. Pass percentage 79, because he tried a lot of ridiculous balls, but at the same time, 80s, mean feet, shots on target 3, fouls 123, 720 minutes, 24 key passes, 53 duels, 1 out of 75. Obviously, very dominating, and he wins headers as well. 15 aerial duels and 14 aerial duels, 1 missing out, obviously, on just the 1. He's a joke. He's absolutely.
And he doesn't get subbed off either, Tom.
I will come on to
that. His injury thing.
In just a second, I will come on to that, because I was biting my nails, thinking you've subbed off everybody else. Why is he still on at 3-0? But well, Tony Lawson said, Pompey fans said if we kept him fit, it'd be a good sign. They were right. Everything goes through him. I did say when we first signed him, when we were talking about him, an Ipswich fan messaged me and said he could find space in a single bed with Gemma Collins, and now I think is absolutely right. I think that is a comment which was both funny at the time because I thought he can't be that good, but I do generally believe he is very good. Maybe in a matchbox with Gemma Collins on it, he could find space. But every credit to Evans because he deserved his goal, and the relief / happiness on his face after he scores was something we don't see in those post-match videos we see of him when he's like, go away. He was relieved or happy just to score that goal, whichever it was. I think he likes to add them to his game because he certainly does enough for the team. Of course, we'll come on to a few more comments. Craig has said a Rolls Royce of a footballer. And Mark said, "Is no Ollie Norburn versus Burton at home last season?" Let's be honest, yeah. The performance that made Mark think we've just signed the next Charlie Adam. I think the pass to Lavery before he scored that first goal was exceptional. Hasn't quite done it since, but this season he's a renewed man before his injury. Yosha said he has made us all wanting Byers back look silly. Yeah, well, maybe we could have had both, but we were wanting Byers before anybody else. But he's certainly a coup. And again, every credit to both Critchley and the board for bringing him in. They've noticed some good talent there, and fair play for bringing him in. The last couple of points, then we've spoke about Harry Tyra, we've spoke about the back four. But isn't it nice to support a football club where you've got probably one of the best back four in the leagues with the balance and the attacking and the deep defense that they show? Casey's excellent. Afire is speedy, muscly. Is a warrior after Charlton being landed on, etc., and still carrying on. Maybe gets it from his dad. I think that's pretty obvious. Gabriel is both attacking but defensively excellent. Who knows how to win a foul, so to speak? He can buy a foul for about. He probably sell his fouls that what he wins. I think he's the most fouled wing back this season or right back this season statistically. And Coulson, as we've said, is an engine. He's a good attacker and he knows when to defend as well. So have we got probably the most complete back four we've had in a very long time with the loan signing of Afire?
Yeah, we might do. I mean, we'll only know after another 5 to 10 more games. I find it crazy that I was purring about Elkan Baggett at the start of the season, and when he got injured, I was like, oh, God, what a disaster. And again, he's got a place in his team. But yeah, it looks really balanced. There's some height in there. They're all committed, all really committed. I mean, Coulson, doesn't shy away from much. He loves a bit of a scrap. He looks a bit like Shaggy. But yeah, all of them. I was waxing lyrical about Casey because at times he was a one-man band at Forest Green before last season. Keeping them in games. Holding their back three together. Getting man of the match. I said he could be a standout player, and I think had it not been for that silly red card that he had, I think he would have carried on in that team. So look, great back four. Keeper compliments them. Comms is good. There's always going to be a mistake at this level. They're always going to get things wrong. But if we can, since what Mark said, keep these guys away from injury, and we probably do have a back four that's up there. We'll know in another 5 to 10 games where we're truly going to be fighting towards the end of the season. And hopefully it's for top 2 as opposed to top 6 or top 10.
Yeah, Mark said back four superb. However, we're an injury away from Gabriel away from being unbalanced again. Yeah, I said this earlier. Pennington can play there, and I think Afire can play there. Ashworth maybe, but he's not going to give you the same outlet as Gabriel. So, and he can't play every game. So, with the EFL Trophy games coming up, and maybe the international break against Bristol Rovers, although that doesn't look likely now. He will get the rest he needs, of course. But fingers crossed, Gabriel can stay fit because it'd be great to have a full season out of him. Right, the last point before we move on to the Lincoln preview. Ben has been kindly waiting for us, probably about 15 minutes over what I said, but we're waxing lyrical about Blackpool. Let us enjoy this moment. We're going to end on somewhat of a negative. The Rhodes we thought we were going to sign when he first signed before he became really good again is kind of eked his way into Blackpool's sort of team. The injury from last season doesn't seem to have done him the world of good, of course. He now looks quite, I'd say slow, lethargic, of course, but not as switched on as he was previously. Is that because he's not playing with the likes of Karamoko in a system which kind of suits him a little bit better? Do you think the 4-4-2 with a high press doesn't suit him because he's obviously not fit anymore? Not fast anymore? He did some good things, of course, but he doesn't suit this style, which is sad to see because he was such a such an amazing player for us last season, and I don't want to see him anywhere away from the team. Of course, to bring him on in any game is absolutely imperative, but to start with him is somewhat detrimental to Joseph, who has to do the running of two strikers really to give us an opportunity to press up front as well.
I don't know if I agree that he doesn't suit this style. I think Jordan Rhodes would suit at a peak. Jordan Rhodes would suit any football team. If you're creating chances, he'll score.
A peak? He's 34 now.
No, but I'm saying if he was at his peak, he would suit any team.
Yeah.
I think what my point is that he just doesn't look very confident. Last season we've got the Jordan Rhodes that I thought we were getting last season. If that makes sense, this is the sort of player. He looks a little bit slow. Not really on it. The ball's not falling for him. This is just a player that's just unconfident. I think he's been knocked from his injury. He's not played. When he plays consistent football, he kind of is there and he stays there. And then he's had an injury and he's kind of, he just seems unfit. So I'd almost start him again. I know people have been saying Beasley, and in hindsight, I probably would have chosen Beasley, but let's just get games into him. Let's get, he's one of the top goal scorers in the Football League. Every time he seems to play against him, he scored against us. Let's just get some games into him whilst we can, whilst Ballard's out, and then use Beasley and Fletcher to come on and, either get us back in it or shore the game up, but, whatever. But actually, I would probably just persist with him and get some minutes into his legs, because it makes no sense to give him a game and then drop him. I feel like that sends the wrong message as well, to a degree.
That's fair enough. Right. History made going into tomorrow now, and we welcome Ben from the Stacey West podcast. Tomorrow at 7:45, Ben, is probably the most interesting game I think Blackpool have played in a very long time, just due to your away form, your ability to play a different style of football in League One, and your confidence away from home at the moment, of course, which I sort of said at the start. You last lost when you played Blackpool on New Year's Day at 2-0 loss, and from there you've been absolutely superb. So just talk to us about why the away day success has been so good.
If I knew that, I'd be a football manager. I don't know, honestly. Like, it's been, we were in a bit of a sticky situation, shall we say, with Mark Kennedy when he was here. It went downhill relatively quickly, towards the middle of last season, and then there was, by all accounts, there was a series of fallouts behind the scenes, and he just was relieved of his duties. And Michael Skubala came in. And it wasn't an immediate flick of the switch, but you started to see a lot of the changes he was trying to implement quite quickly. And then that led to, as most people probably recognise, for our back half of last season, we had a tremendous run at home and away towards the end of last season. I think it was something like 16 games unbeaten towards the back end of the season, which saw us very, very close to the playoffs, and sadly missed out on the final day to Portsmouth. But I think overall, it just seems to be a bit more tactical discipline that he's managed to instill. He's playing a decent system where we're essentially like a 5-2-3 or a 5-3-2 or a 3-5-2 in possession, and then when we lose the ball, it all kind of just tightens up a little bit, and we kind of go to a 4-4-2. Which sort of pushes Sean Rowan out if he's playing out onto the left-hand side. He played as a wing-back last season, and then this season he's come in and he's playing as our left centre-back. So it just shores it up a little bit. And I think as well, we've got the players in the squad that can make a really high press really effective. We actually saw a presentation not that long ago, and Michael basically said, look, when we lose the ball, the lads at the front have free rein to do what they want and try and win the ball back. So, yeah, it's a really odd one, but obviously the confidence is high in the squad at the moment, and we just seem to be able to line up in the exact way to counter whatever's in front of us at the moment. So it's a good time to be a Lincoln fan, which is something that seems to be quite recurring over the past few seasons.
Yeah, Ben, you gave me one of my worst away days last season at your place. I think I was in the pub after 65 minutes, back in my car before the full-time whistle had gone. It was easily the worst display I've ever seen, I think. And we had quite a few of them. But talk to us about what the side looked like last season, what it looks like now, in terms of players, what changes have you made, who have you brought in, who's some of the sort of,
So yeah, I mean the biggest one, the biggest ones really that we noticed that we'd lost were Lars Sorensen and Lucas Jensen. Essentially, the two of the key pillars of the defense, basically. Lucas Jensen in goal, big 6 foot plus lad, went over to Millwall relatively late in the window, to be honest. Which seemed, at one point, it all seemed like he was going to be fine. He'd be staying here for the season. He was on the last year of his contract, and then obviously the tragic situation with Millwall's keeper meant that he went over there. And Lars Sorensen, again, another one where final year of the contract, he was probably one of those where it was like, we need to try and get some money from him if we can, because it's evident he's not going to sign an extension. And by all accounts, we've got close to £1 million, if not over £1 million, for 2 players that were in the final year of the contract, which is fantastic for a club of our size. And it's kind of what we're trying to do with. It's a bit of a meme among Lincoln fans, but it's the model. It's kind of what we're trying to do with players: buy them in relatively cheap, get them in on free, develop them, and then sell them off when their value's at the best. But in terms of other players that left, I don't really think there was too many that we were disappointed about. I mean, Danny Mandroiu was good in spurts for us last season, but yeah,
we spent 4 weeks talking about him. He turned up, and then I think he stayed in Blackpool Hotel for 2 weeks, and then he signed for a team in Ireland. So
yeah, he went back.
Know about him, but not know about him.
Yeah, he went back to Shamrock. It was he was when he was good, he was very, very good. But when he didn't want to try, he was less than indifferent. And then Teddy Bishop as well was one of my favourite players for the past few seasons, and he couldn't agree a new deal, and he's ended up at Colchester, I think, which is a ridiculous signing. And if you look at Colchester's squad, it's basically former Lincoln player, former Lincoln player, former Lincoln player, former Lincoln manager. It's like, oh, okay, that's what Danny's doing there then. But I think overall, a lot of the players that left, we wouldn't miss them too much. But the players that we've brought in have really seemingly added a lot of quality to the squad. I think we've brought in the only one that we're currently unsure about, that the jury's out on, is Rob Street, who came in from Cheltenham.
I really like that signing. Sorry to interrupt. I really like that signing from you when it happened, because he looked a lively character against Blackpool at Bloomfield Road.
Yeah, so he's not had much of a chance just yet, and I think from the chat from our director of football and the manager as well, it kind of sounds like he's more of a long-term prospect, almost like a project player that's nearly complete. So we'll have to see what happens with Rob Street. But in terms of the other lads that have come in, I mean, one of the signings of the summer for me has been Tendai Darikwa, who, when he signed, our outgoing manager in his first press conference for Swindon said, I was at a club where the policy was we don't sign anyone over 23. And then when we signed Tendai Darikwa, his age is 32, and we thought, oh, if they just got that the wrong way round, it was one of those moments we thought, that's a really strange signing for Lincoln. But he's been a revelation, to be honest. He's been absolutely fantastic. Right wing back, runs at players like he's in his mid-20s. He's full of energy, one of the most physically fit 32-year-olds I think I've ever seen in my life. Then on top of that, we've got Tom Bayliss, who's come in to kind of do the Teddy Bishop role. He's been brilliant so far. I think he's had a couple of off games, but on the whole, yeah, he's been great. And then we've also had to replace Lucas Jensen. We've done we've done that with George Wickens, who is a similar mould. He's huge. He's an absolute unit. And I think the interesting thing this transfer window for some Lincoln fans is that we sold and bought 3 goalkeepers. So at one point we completely changed all 3 goalkeeping slots in the squad, which was yeah, a bit of a strange one, but yeah, there was some really good signings over the summer, and I think everything so far, to be honest, has been um, it's added to the squad as opposed to just kind of making up the numbers. And I think this is genuinely the best Lincoln City squad that I've seen in my time supporting them. It's really exciting.
You're in some form. So talk to us about your season so far. Then another away win on Saturday, a job Blackpool couldn't quite do when Neil Critchley left the football club. We were 4-1 up against Cambridge. They looked quite a poor side, but we somehow capitulated, and that's their only point in this campaign. But you strolled there, and it was a very comfortable win. And with your new striker getting on the score sheet as well, what have you made of him so far, and how has your season sort of panned out? Has it been as comfortable as it looks on paper?
I'd probably say so. I think the only real frustration has been the Barnsley game, which was one of those where I don't know. It wasn't that we didn't turn up, but I think it was just a frustrating afternoon. We could have walked away with something. We could have had a couple of goals. We could have gotten slammed. It was just one of those afternoons where nothing didn't quite click. But yeah, on the whole, I think we've been pretty solid so far this season. It's like I said, we've been able to match everybody that's come up against us. We've got a game plan for it. We stick to that game plan. Everything's fine, and it's all just we know what we need to do to get the result that we want. Having said that, the Wigan game was dire. It was a 12:30 kickoff, and I don't think anybody really fancied it. And of course, it was the game that was live on Sky that day. So yeah, not the best advert for us, but I think overall, we're just looking like a solid unit. With obviously we've got some new players that are in that they're still bedding in a little bit. Still going to take a little bit of time for everything to fully click. But I'll be honest, at no point this season have I really felt worried. Whereas previous seasons, you have the odd game where you think, oh, this is great, and then the next couple of games, if you have a bad result, you go, yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's on a bit of a knife edge, and that was particularly true with Kennedy, where you kind of almost made excuses for the results because the performances were okay. Like we weren't conceding, but at the same time we weren't scoring. But yeah, with Skubala, it seems like he's really got his head screwed on and he knows what he's doing. With regard to Bailey Cadamarteri, obviously a loan signing I didn't even talk about when I was saying about the people we brought in. Came in really highly rated from Sheffield Wednesday. A surname that a lot of people will recognise straight away. But yeah, we've not seen too much of him just yet. I think he's come on for about half an hour, then he came on at half time on Saturday. But from what we've seen, I think it was the Peterborough game. There was one touch in that game which completely took out at least a couple of defenders. Like the ball comes over the top, he took it on his chest and he just rolled it across his chest into his path, and he was unlucky not to score there as well, to be fair. But he looks really sharp. I think it sounds like there was a lot of clubs that were after him. He had a meeting at Lincoln and basically said, yeah, I want to go there, because he's seen what's happened to the likes of Brennan Johnson, Morgan Rogers, and players like that have been at Lincoln and developed. And I think, yeah, he was really keen to come to us, and he looks like he's a bit of a live wire. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
He was linked with the Seasiders as well, and you always do that thing where you look on YouTube, but also the reviews that he got, like you say, was lively. He's very composed, and he's already got his goal off the bench as well, as you've already said. So I think is a good weapon in the armory to have, and certainly he could start games as well as come on and impact them. So again, alongside Rob Street and others in your squad, you're starting to develop a really good squad. And as you said in the past, and as I know, being a League One fan, and won't mention that the Kenny Dougal day much in this pod, I promise. But you've always had a squad which has relied on sort of 12, 13 players, but now you're starting to get players that can, really impact the squad, and every credit to you, the club for doing that. One of my next questions was similar to what Mark has asked in the chat. So do Lincoln play differently away from home to be so successful? More counter-attacking or more possession-based? Or do you kind of keep the same DNA throughout each of your league games?
I think, to be honest, we try and play similarly across as many games as we can. Excuse me. Yeah, I think we play fairly similarly. We do obviously, try and match up whoever it is we're playing. We're not just going to go in with a set game plan. So this is how Lincoln City play every single game. We've had a couple of complaints from certain sections of the fan base where they'll, moan about long balls and, oh, well, we were playing really good football. What's happened? Why are we punting at 50 yards? And then you see the goal or one of the goals from Saturday, which was, Kadamatri's goal, essentially a 50-yard ball from Adam Jackson that he took on his chest and prodded in. But then we'll also score goals like we did against Peterborough, which I don't know how many passes were in there beforehand, but when you watch the highlights, you couldn't see how many passes there were before the goal because the highlights didn't go that far back enough. It was an unbelievable team goal. So I think really it's just a case of trying to match up what we're up against. I don't think it would be fair to say that we're a possession-based team. I think we're a high-pressing team. So if you've got the ball at your, going across your back line, you've got to be prepared to have one of our strikers right up you because, we will press the ball high and we'll press to score essentially. So yeah, it's not I don't think there's a simple formula to it. I'm just pleased that Skabala knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I live near Swindon, and it's Mark Kennedy, not Swindon manager, isn't it? And they're having an absolute shocker of a season. So, probably a good change by the sounds of things.
Yeah. Oh dear, is my response to that one. Oh dear, how sad.
Yeah, I don't mind Swindon not doing well anyway. Talk to us a bit about pre-season, expectations. Obviously, your expectations now are probably different to what they were, say, 8 games ago. What are they? Lincoln have. I don't know what your home crowds are. I don't know what your sort of ceiling is, but when you look at the Bournemouths of this world, I don't really care about ceilings. I watch Bournemouth have 2,000 fans at home, so you can go as high as you want. If you have the right structure and a bit of cash. So, what is the sort of expectations for the season for Lincoln?
I'll be honest. I think a lot of people were expecting, a high mid-table finish. I think we would probably say that would have been, at the start of the season, we would say that would be a successful season for us. If we finish 10th, yes, we're finishing below where we did last season, but you look at how much this division's changed this year with the teams coming down and the teams coming up and the money that's been thrown around in this division. We kind of looked at it and said, well, okay, progress on the pitch doesn't necessarily mean a higher position finish this season. The biggest thing for us in general at the moment is the progression off the pitch. I mean, we've got really good investment. We've got, if I can be if I can, be a little bit, brag a little bit. I think we've got the best chairman in the EFL. I think we have, Clive Nates has done wonders with it. Wonders with the club. He's brought so much money into the club through different investors. We're not reliant on one single investor at this point. So if somebody gets bored and pulls the money out, the club doesn't go pop. We've got, it's an engaged fan base. It's an engaged board. There's a lot of stuff that goes on between the fans and the club. And I think, I know it sounds twee, but I think that's probably the more important thing for big sections of our fan base than just making sure that we're, top 6 every year. Having said that, the start that we've had has given everybody quite a lot of belief that we could potentially do something special this season. I'm still in the position where I think 8th is probably our ceiling, but I don't know with the players that we've brought in, and if we can keep Kadamatri for the season and he doesn't, go back in January after scoring 10 goals, and if we can keep hold of the rest of our squad after January. I mean, the biggest one for us at the moment is Ethan Arahan. Like, he is, you were talking about Evans and saying that he's a bit of a Rolls Royce of a footballer for you. Ethan Arahan is our crown jewel at the minute. Like, we had 3. We had Lucas Jensen, Lasse Sorensen, and Ethan Arahan. We lost 2 of them in the summer. So Arahan is kind of our, he's ours at the moment. We've got, I think, his contract's still 3 years, so anybody comes in for him, it's going to cost him a bit of money. But that, like I say, that's the model that we're operating under. But yeah, in terms of expectations for the season, I think anywhere between 8th and 10th is an improvement on last season, despite it not being reflected in the table.
I kind of disagree, but I'm not a Lincoln fan. I think when you look at your squad and you look at our squad, providing we add in January and you don't lose a lot in January, I think you've got deeper squad than ours in terms of talent. There's no reason with the right formula, the right DNA, the right belief, the right structure, why you can't continue to be a consistent in this league. And it's the same with a few teams. But when you look at Birmingham, of course, you expect them to turn up. But Peter are a bit wonky, aren't they? You've got Wrexham's, which potentially won't continue on the right trajectory. And whilst all these teams, Stockport will have a wobble, but that you've had recent history of being quite consistent with your 15, 16. We've had that sort of history as well. So whilst I've said, and I'm sounding like I'm contradicting myself, said this is one of the hardest Leagues One seasons of all time, I do also think if you're consistent and you've got the right structure, there's no reason why you can't continue to be in and around the playoffs, because the same as the bottom of the league, you can get yourself out of it quite quickly with a good run. A good run at the top sees you consistently stay there, like you did last season, where you didn't lose for 15 games and you suddenly were just there, weren't you? So
yeah,
it will be interesting to see what you can do. I don't know how Kurt feels, but I'm nervous in a sense of this is the hardest of Bruce's, challenges so far. We play, as you've sat and kindly listened to the chat before, we play the 4-4-2 with that back sort of four being really pivotal to us, with Evans and Morgan doing a really good job at the moment. How do you think you'll cope with the four at the back but athleticism down the wings? How does your system sort of combat that? Because you said they're very adaptive and very fluid into what comes up against them, but if you press high, we've also got quite a fast group of players that can really impact the game as well.
I think it's going to be a really interesting game. It was mentioned by Chris on our podcast. Chris is our real stato. He kind of looks into everything and knows the numbers inside out. He was saying that, at least on paper, a lot of your attacking stats marry up with, attacking strengths rather, marry up with our defensive strength quite well. So we have players on the, at left back, at right back, when we're in that defensive four, that are very, very good at man-to-man defending. Sean Rowan is an excellent left back. Obviously, if you look at team sheet, he's playing left centre back, but when he moves over to that left-sided position, he's a really, really good defender down that side. I think it benefits us as well because he's more of a defense-minded left-sided defender, and that sounds like that's a really weird statement, but he's not a left wing back that will fly up and down the pitch, whereas Dom Jeffries, for example, has been playing that role. Sean Rowan will be much more of a left back. Tendai Darikwa is capable of doing that. Like I said, he's got the pace for days. He will run and run and run. And I think for me, I think the key battle is going to be in and around that midfield. Like I say, we have. At this moment in time, I think this is the best. We have the potential to have the best midfield three that I've ever seen at the club. We've got Ethan Arahan, who, like I say, Rolls Royce of a player. We've got Conor McGrandles, who came in. Technically, this is his third spell at the club. He came in on loan towards the end of last season from Charlton. Got injured quite quickly, so we didn't see him for the rest of the season. But then he came back on a permanent deal over the summer. He is. You notice what he does when he's not there. He's that kind of player where when he's playing, you think, oh, he's maybe misplaced a pass here and there, but when he's not there, you know that you're missing him. And then we have Tom Bayliss up just in front of them as well. And honestly, I think that he's been fantastic for us as well. So yeah, I think that midfield battle is going to be really, really interesting. But I think we've got enough to match you. If I'm not overly confident that we're gonna get all 3 points, but I'm confident we've got enough to match up Blackpool tomorrow night.
Kurt, do you think not having Ballard is going to impact us and make them stronger because of having sort of one less presser at the front, if that makes sense? Or do you think if he will go with something different with a bit of pace to sort of kind of match them a little bit better?
I think in previous seasons, and we spent so long, and it felt like, with Critchley, we spent so long worrying about what other people are doing. If we worry about ourselves and then we lose, we lose. For me, I'm not nervous about tomorrow. I just see it as another opportunity to keep winning. If we beat Lincoln tomorrow, the whole league is going to be putting us in the conversation of Wrexham and Birmingham. The whole league will stand up as an opportunity to play a very good footballing team that are on a crazy run. Runs do end at some point. I'm sure, obviously Ben won't want that to happen tomorrow, but you're playing against a really good team. It's an opportunity for us to go, wow, we've played 4 teams we've won. How good are we? How good are we? Because we're playing a team that probably at a similar sort of level to us, and in terms of confidence, in terms of football, it's an opportunity. I'm really looking forward to it. It's what we want to see, isn't it? Really good football games. I don't want to see us losing to Cheltenham 2-0 with the ball in the air 85 minutes. I watch football to watch really good footballers play. And hopefully at the end of it, my team wins. But we've got an opportunity tomorrow, and that's how Bruce should be selling it to players. You're playing one of the better sides in the league. They're on a mental run. That are higher confidence. You beat them, and then you're basically saying to the rest of the league, you need to watch out for us, because if we can beat these other teams and Lincoln, then we've got a massive opportunity. So it's going to be a great game. It's a shame it should be a Saturday game on telly. This really, I feel like this is going to be a bit of an underrated. They Sky Sports go on and on about Wrexham and Birmingham. I couldn't give a toss about either of them two. I don't want to watch Wrexham and Birmingham. Actually, I thought Wrexham were crap in that game. I don't rate them as highly as they should be rated. They've done well started. They're riding on momentum. I don't think they're that good. I think there's better teams out there. So look, it's going to be really interesting. Looking forward to it. We'll see how we go.
Is there any more key players that you've kind of mentioned your whole team there, but is anyone going under the radar which has really been a focal point for Lincoln?
I think the only one really that I've not mentioned too much has been somewhere in the defence. I mean, Adam Jackson, Pordy O'Connor. Pordy O'Connor's the captain, and he's just fantastic. We were having so many conversations over the close season about we might need another central defender, because what if Pordy's injured? What if Lewis Monsma doesn't come back in time and all the rest of it? But genuinely, I think that back three of Jackson, O'Connor, and Sean Rowan have been so solid for us, and I think it's one of the cornerstones of the whole run is just being that solid defensively. But yeah, in terms of key players, I mean, you can't look past Ethan Arahan. I've said his name more times than his mum probably did shout him down for tea, but he is just absolute class. And if he's still with us at the end of the season, I will be delighted but surprised.
How have you been from set pieces? Obviously, defensively, you're quite organised. We've scored from 7 set pieces now this season after Saturday, top in the EFL. Do you see that as a threat tomorrow, or have you been pretty resilient from them?
We've been pretty resilient. I think that towards the end of last season, there were questions, the definite questions. It seemed like it was either a silly individual mistake or a set piece that was, gifting opposition teams goals. I think we've tightened that up a little bit. It looked like it might creep in the first couple of games, but since then, we've been pretty solid with them. So yeah, I'm you watch. It'll be an absolute howler tomorrow that will come in from a corner and someone will flap at it and it'll go in.
Well, hopefully for us, that would be great. Got any questions for us? We've spoke obviously quite a lot about the game and the way we think it's going to go. I think if we play well, I think Bison's has just said similar. I think if we play well at home and we get a bit of momentum behind us, we live for days like this, don't we, Kurt? I think we've had many games in the past, despite who the manager is, when it's expected to be a good game, we've been bang up for it, and I don't think Bruce sees it any other way. I will caveat that though, Bruce has been quite pedal to the metal with his comments about the way we're going to play, and he still said we need to stick to our game plan, but he's been very respectful to Lincoln this time around, whereas against Burton we said we'll worry about our own performances and we'll get the job done, whereas with Lincoln, as he alluded to, your form is alluded to you being very good, so naturally, as they always will be, research will be done, but I think we we usually step up in games like this, and fingers crossed tomorrow will be a barnstormer.
Yeah, I think. I mean, we've obviously done a preview with Martin that is on our channel as well. So we've had a discussion on there about what to expect. I'm just looking forward to the game, to be honest. At this point, like it seems to be there's a lot of anticipation around it, and I think it's probably deserved. I mean, there's I would say there's unfinished business from Wembley, but I mean there really isn't. We just didn't show up on the day, so I think a lot of us have let that one go at this point. But yeah, I think I'm just looking forward to what should be a really, really good game.
I completely agree. Anything else from you, Ben? You got any questions for us?
No, I think we're just about previewed out. To be honest, I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I'm going to call that pod then, gents. Anything else from you, Kurt, before we end?
No, I find it mental that Brennan Johnson and Morgan Rogers were playing for you in that season.
Oh yeah,
where they are now. And then Morgan Rogers came for us and he warmed the bench up for half the time because he wasn't dislodging CJ Hamilton. So football's weird, isn't it? So looking forward to it. Yeah, looking forward to it. I've got a day in London and then rush back to watch it. So I won't be there tomorrow, but I'll be there. It was
a weird season. I say that was a weird season as well because it was the COVID season. So we had Morgan Rogers, Brennan Johnson in the same team for us, and we saw them live in the flesh for one game, which was the Sunderland game in the playoffs, because that was the only game we were allowed in the stands for. So,
and they also both looked about 14 as well back then. So
yes, they did.
To see him, fly in now because Morgan Rogers, both looked fantastic. So yeah, look, that's it for me. It's great to keep this run going. Hopefully we can end a run and extend ours, but this game doesn't define our season, in my opinion.
No, we'll be back later on in the week to, of course, review this clash and look forward to Mansfield as well. Two big games. We've got third place Lincoln and fifth place Mansfield as it stands, of course. We can't all win, of course, after tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see how the land lies on Saturday. But from all of us at the It's Not Orange podcast, we'll see you soon.